England right now. A security advisor to Prime Minister Gordon Brown warning of what he is calling a huge terror plot coming.
There's going to be a lot of tough decisions Brock's going to have to make. A lot of very tough decisions, including on foreign policy. And here's the point I want to make. Mark my words. Mark my words. It will not be 6 months before the world tests Barack Obama like they did John Kennedy. The world is looking. We're about to elect a brilliant 47-year-old President of the United States of America. Remember I said standing here, you don't remember anything else I said. Watch, we're going to have an international crisis, generated crisis, to test the mettle of this guy. And he's going to have to make some really tough, I don't know what the decision's going to be, but I promise you it will occur. As a student of history, and having served with 7 presidents, I guarantee you it's going to happen. I can give you at least 4 or 5 scenarios from where it might originate.
If you were called into the Oval Office on January 21st by the new president, whoever it happens to be, and he said to you, General Powell, I need from you your recommendation on where I began. What should be my priorities? Where would you start?
I would start with talking to the American people and talking to the world and conveying a new image of American leadership, a new image of America's role in the world. The problems will always be there, and there's going to be a crisis come along on the 21st or 22nd of January that we don't even know about right now. The problems will always be there, and there's going to be a crisis come along on the 21st or 22nd of January that we don't even know about right now.
Watch, we're going to have an international crisis, generated crisis.
There's going to be a crisis come along on the
generated crisis.
This is something else I've found very disturbing. This is right from MSNBC, and if you look, the title reads, Biden takes Amtrak to Delaware. Most people are oblivious to what they find in there. They'll read this and not pick up on it. But if you've been following me so far, you'll pick up on this as well. Midway through, you get to the part where the people on the train are getting upset with the television crew, basically following Biden around. You're on TV now. I'm sorry, I can't control this, Biden says, as he told one of the passengers, explaining the ever-present camera crew accompanying him on the board. But here, pick up on this. If we get elected, it will be the most train-friendly administration ever, he told another. What is he talking about? That bothers me. Is he talking about FEMA trains? Think about it. And with the part I just played for you, I mean, put 2 and 2 together. Something's not right. And there's not a lot of time. You need to spread this.
New questions tonight about an Army combat brigade being trained to deal with civil disturbances in the United States. The Posse Comitatus Act of 1878 generally prohibits federal uniformed services from carrying out domestic law enforcement duties, except in cases expressly authorized by the Constitution or an act of Congress. Critics say the brigade's training goes against one of the founding principles of our country, separation of military and civilian government. Luis Schiavone has our report.
They've spent 30 months on the streets of Baghdad. Now the 1st Brigade Combat Team of the Army's 3rd Infantry Division is back in the USA. The Army Times reporting, quote, they may be called upon to help with civil unrest and crowd control or to deal with potentially horrific scenarios, end quote. The question arises, why? And isn't that what the National Guard does?
Infantry Brigade is designed to engage an enemy with maximum effective force and destroy it. That's not the sort of thing anybody wants to see in the streets streets of the United States.
Almost 5,000 strong, the brigade is based at Fort Stewart, Georgia, under control of Northern Command, who tells CNN, quote, the primary purpose of this force is to provide help to people in need in the aftermath of a WMD-like event. In the homeland, so that were they called to support civil authority, those governors or local state jurisdictions that might need our help, that they would be responsive and capable in the aftermath of an event like this, end quote. On Capitol Hill, questions about how the Pentagon determined that a thinly stretched military with 2 conflicts underway could spare these troops.
That's a misuse of assets. Those assets can be deployed, I think, more efficiently somewhere else when you have the guard that you can call up on a moment's notice.
Historically, the posting is unusual. In modern history, Army troops have been used at extraordinary junctures. Under the first President Bush to contain the 1992 riots in Los Angeles, under President Lyndon Johnson in response to Detroit's 1967 riots, and in the grips of a depression by President Herbert Hoover to contain Army veterans demanding their bonuses. All actions, says historian Robert Dallek, undertaken by
unpopular presidents on edge about their capacity to lead, to invoke public support for whatever it is they think needs to be done.
President Bush today rescinded visa requirements for the citizens of 7 countries. Citizens from the Czech Republic, Estonia, Hungary, Latvia, Lithuania, and South Korea will now be able to travel to the United States without a visa. The Bush administration's continuation of the visa waiver program is in direct contradiction of the recommendations of the 9/11 Commission. That commission wanted tougher restrictions for countries in the visa program. Lisa Sylvester has our report.
Citizens of 7 Eastern European countries and South Korea will soon not need a visa to enter the United States. Visitors from these countries can stay in the United States for up to 90 days. They join other U.S. allies, including most of Western Europe, in the visa waiver program.
These close friends of America told me that it was unfair, that their people had to jump through bureaucratic hoops, that other allies can walk around. I told them I agree with them.
President Bush said the travelers will only be allowed in if they have tamper-proof biometric passports. But Senator Dianne Feinstein is among those who is not a fan of the change. In a recent hearing, Feinstein criticized the visa waiver program, calling it the soft underbelly of the nation's immigration system.
I find it ironic that the Department of Homeland Security, whose #1 goal is to protect the nation from dangerous people, is instead expediting the expansion of a program that we know is exploited by dangerous people.
Feinstein says the visa waiver program is being expanded, even though several statutory conditions have not been met. By law, before new countries are admitted into the program, the Department of Homeland Security must be able to verify the departure of 97% of foreign travelers leaving U.S. airports. A Government Accountability Office report said that condition has not been met. The United States does not know when and if millions of travelers actually leave the country. Jim Edwards says it's a gaping national security hole.
Where are the safeguards? There's not the exit portion of U.S. visit, so we don't have a mandatory program and means of checking them out of the country.
National security concerns are not the only worry, but also the prospect of increasing illegal immigration.
And Senator Feinstein says expanding the program now is especially alarming given the number of stolen passports that are sold on the black market. And the passports of these 7 countries are now even more valuable because the travelers are no longer going to have to go through the screening that is part of the visa process. Lou?
And no word from Michael Chertoff, the Secretary of Homeland Security, on this issue at all.
They are backing what President Bush said, but no direct word, Lou.
Well, the embarrassment is pervasive, of course, throughout the administration. Absolute disregard for the safety and the well-being of the American people, violating, again, an implicit responsibility, certainly to meet the recommendations of the 9/11 Commission. Lisa, thank you very much. Lisa Sylvester from Washington. With the new additions, the visa waiver program will now include 34 countries, most of them in Western Europe. Bulgaria, Cyprus, Greece, Malta, Poland, and Romania had applied, but for some reason weren't added to the waiver list. Bulgaria, Poland, and Romania are NATO allies that have contributed troops for action in both Iraq and Afghanistan.
And there's going to be a crisis come along on the 21st or 22nd of January that we don't even know about right now.
Mark my words, it will not be 6 months before the world tests Barack Obama like they did John Kennedy.
During debates on the banker bailout bill on the floor of Congress last week, Congressman Brad Sherman made a startling revelation.
Many of us were told in private conversations that if we voted against this bill on Monday, that the sky would fall, the market would drop 2,000 or 3,000 points the first day, another couple thousand the second day, and a few members were even told that there would be martial law in America if we voted no.